Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the sun streaming through your curtains, birds chirping outside, and a sense of calm washing over you. You feel happy. Not the fleeting, surface-level kind of happiness that comes from a good meal or a funny video, but a deep, abiding contentment. You think to yourself, this is it. I've arrived. I've found what I've been searching for. But then something shifts. A thought creeps in, almost imperceptible at first, like a shadow stretching across a sunlit room. What if this doesn't last? You push it away, but it lingers, growing louder. What if I lose this? What if I'm not happy tomorrow? What if I'm not happy enough? Suddenly, the calm you felt moments ago feels fragile, precarious, like a glass teetering on the edge of a table. And just like that, the happiness you were so sure of begins to slip through your fingers. This is the paradox of happiness. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. The harder you cling to it, the faster it dissolves. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the less you have. And yet we are told over and over again that happiness is the ultimate goal. It's the promise of every self-help book, every motivational speaker, every ad campaign. Be happy, stay happy. Happiness is within your reach. But what if this relentless pursuit of happiness is not the solution, but the problem? Consider this. What if happiness, as we've come to understand it, is not a destination, but a distraction? What if the very act of seeking happiness is what keeps us from experiencing it? Think about the last time you felt truly at peace. Was it when you were actively trying to be happy? Or was it when you were so absorbed in something, a conversation, a project, a moment of connection, that you forgot to think about happiness at all? And here's the deeper, more unsettling question. What if our obsession with happiness is a way of avoiding something far more important? What if, in our quest to feel good, we're missing out on what it means to truly live? The ancient Greeks had a word for this, eudaimonia. It's often translated as happiness, but it means something closer to flourishing or fulfillment. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about living a life of meaning, purpose, and virtue. The Stoics, too, warned against the pursuit of pleasure for its own sake. They believed that true contentment comes not from external circumstances, but from within, from cultivating wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. And yet here we are, thousands of years later, still chasing happiness as if it were a prize to be won. We scroll through social media, comparing our lives to the highlight reels of others. We buy things we don't need, hoping they'll fill the void. We set goals and milestones, thinking, if I can just achieve this, then I'll be happy. But the goalposts keep moving. The void remains. Why? Why do we keep falling into this trap? Why does happiness seem so tantalizingly close, yet always just out of reach? Perhaps it's because we've misunderstood what happiness really is. We've turned it into a commodity, something to be acquired, consumed, and displayed. We've made it the measure of a successful life, the benchmark by which we judge ourselves and others. But in doing so, we've stripped it of its depth, its complexity, its humanity. What if happiness isn't something you can find or achieve? What if it's not a state to be attained, but a byproduct of something else entirely? What if the key to happiness lies not in seeking it, but in letting it go? These are the questions we'll explore in the sections to come. We'll delve into the psychological and philosophical roots of our obsession with happiness, uncovering the hidden forces that drive us to chase it so relentlessly. We'll examine the unseen consequences of this pursuit, how it shapes our behavior, our relationships, and our sense of self. And finally, we'll discover how to break free from this cycle, not by seeking happiness, but by redefining what it means to live a good life. But before we go any further, let's pause and sit with the discomfort of this paradox. Let's resist the urge to rush toward answers. Because the truth is, the problem with always seeking happiness isn't just that it's futile. It's that it keeps us from asking the deeper questions, the ones that might actually lead us to the fulfillment we're so desperately searching for. So take a moment, breathe, and ask yourself, what if the pursuit of happiness is the very thing standing in your way? The journey ahead is not an easy one, but it is a necessary one. Because the question we're really asking isn't just about happiness, it's about what it means to be human. And that is a question worth exploring, no matter how uncomfortable the answers may be. Now let's begin. To understand why the pursuit of happiness so often backfires, we must first confront a hard truth. Happiness, as we've been taught to seek it, is a modern construct. It's a product of our time, a time defined by consumerism, instant gratification, and the relentless pressure to optimize every aspect of our lives. But this version of happiness is not universal. It's not timeless. It's a story we've been sold, and like all stories, it has a beginning. Let's rewind to the 18th century, to the Age of Enlightenment, when the idea of happiness as a fundamental human right began to take root. Philosophers like John Locke and Thomas Jefferson declared that the pursuit of happiness was not just a personal goal, but a political one. This was revolutionary, a radical shift from the medieval worldview, which saw suffering as an inevitable part of the human condition. But over time, this noble ideal became distorted. Happiness went from being a right to a responsibility. It became something we were supposed to achieve, something we were supposed to be. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the rise of consumer culture cemented this distortion. Advertisers began to sell us not just products, but the promise of happiness itself. A new car would make us feel successful. A vacation would make us feel free. A diamond ring would make us feel loved. Happiness became transactional, something you could buy, earn, or achieve if you just worked hard enough. And so, the pursuit of happiness became a never-ending race. A race with no finish line, because the goalposts kept moving. But the problem runs deeper than consumerism. It's rooted in our very psychology. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, warned of the dangers of what he called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or ignore. According to Jung, the more we chase after light, the darker our shadow becomes. In other words, the more we strive for happiness, the more we suppress our pain, our anger, our fear. And in doing so, we create an inner conflict, a war within ourselves that can never be won. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher known for his critiques of modernity, took this idea even further. He argued that the pursuit of happiness is a form of escapism, a way of avoiding the hard truths of existence. Man does not strive for happiness, Nietzsche wrote, only the Englishman does. What he meant was that happiness as a goal in itself is shallow. It's a distraction from the deeper, more meaningful work of self-discovery and self-overcoming. And then there's Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, who believed that suffering is an inherent part of life. According to Schopenhauer, the pursuit of happiness is not only futile, but also self-defeating. The more we try to avoid suffering, the more we suffer. The more we cling to pleasure, the more fleeting it becomes. In his view, the only way to find peace is to accept the inevitability of suffering, to stop fighting against it and instead find meaning within it. But perhaps the most profound insight comes from Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl argues that happiness cannot be pursued directly. It must ensue as a byproduct of living a meaningful life. Happiness, he wrote, must happen, and the same holds for success. You have to let it happen by not caring about it. So why, despite these warnings, do we continue to chase happiness? The answer lies in a combination of cognitive biases, societal pressures, and neurological wiring. First, there's the hedonic treadmill, the psychological phenomenon that causes us to return to a baseline level of happiness, no matter how much we achieve or acquire. You get a promotion, and for a while, you feel great. But soon, the novelty wears off, and you're back where you started, craving the next big thing. Then there's social comparison theory, which explains how we measure our own worth against the perceived success of others. In the age of social media, this tendency is amplified. We're constantly bombarded with images of people who seem happier, more successful, more fulfilled than we are. And so we strive to keep up, even though we know, deep down, that these images are curated, filtered, and often fake. Finally, there's the neurological reality that our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This is the basis of the dopamine system, which rewards us for pursuing goals and achieving them. But here's the catch. Dopamine is not about satisfaction. It's about anticipation. It's the thrill of the chase, not the catch, that drives us. And so we're trapped in a cycle of wanting, achieving, and wanting more. All of these forces, psychological, philosophical, and neurological, conspire to keep us chasing happiness, even as it slips through our fingers. But the real tragedy is not that we fail to find happiness. It's that, in the process, we lose sight of what truly matters. We sacrifice our relationships, chasing after success. We sacrifice our health, chasing after wealth. We sacrifice our authenticity, chasing after approval. And in the end, we're left with a hollow version of happiness, one that feels more like a burden than a blessing. But what if there's another way? What if, instead of chasing happiness, we could learn to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, the joy and the sorrow, the light and the shadow? What if, instead of running from suffering, we could find meaning within it? These are the questions we'll explore in the next section, as we delve into the unseen consequences of our obsession with happiness. Because the truth is, this pursuit doesn't just affect us as individuals. It shapes our relationships, our communities, and our society as a whole. And until we confront these consequences, we'll remain trapped in a cycle of longing and disillusionment. So take a moment to reflect. What have you sacrificed in the pursuit of happiness, and what might you gain if you stopped chasing it altogether? The answers may surprise you. Imagine a world where everyone is smiling. Every advertisement beams with perfect teeth. Every social media post glows with filtered joy, and every conversation is peppered with affirmations of how great everything is. On the surface, it seems idyllic, a utopia of happiness. But beneath this veneer lies a darker reality. A world where pain is hidden, vulnerability is shamed, and authenticity is sacrificed at the altar of positivity. This is the world we've created in our relentless pursuit of happiness. And while it may seem harmless, even noble, the consequences are far-reaching and insidious. They seep into our relationships, our mental health, and our collective sense of meaning. They shape how we see ourselves and how we interact with others, and they trap us in a cycle of disconnection and disillusionment. Let's start with the most personal consequence, the erosion of authenticity. When happiness becomes the ultimate goal, anything that threatens it, sadness, anger, fear, is seen as a problem to be fixed. We learn to suppress our negative emotions, to put on a brave face, to pretend everything is fine even when it's not. But emotions are not problems. They are messengers. They tell us what we need, what we value, what we've lost. When we silence them, we silence a vital part of ourselves. This suppression doesn't just harm us individually, it harms our relationships. Think about the last time you felt truly seen and understood by someone. Was it when they were pretending to be happy, or was it when they were honest about their struggles? Vulnerability is the foundation of connection. But in a world obsessed with happiness, vulnerability is seen as weakness. And so, we build walls instead of bridges. We trade depth for surface-level pleasantries. We end up surrounded by people but still feeling alone. This culture of enforced positivity also has profound implications for mental health. Research shows that the pressure to be happy can actually make us more depressed. It's a phenomenon known as toxic positivity, the belief that no matter how dire a situation is, we should maintain a positive attitude. On the surface, this seems like good advice, but in practice, it invalidates our pain and makes us feel guilty for feeling bad. It's like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. And then there's the societal impact. When happiness becomes the measure of a successful life, those who are unhappy, whether due to poverty, illness, or systemic injustice, are seen as failures. Their suffering is dismissed as a personal flaw rather than a societal problem. This creates a vicious cycle. The more we stigmatize unhappiness, the less we address its root causes. The less we address its root causes, the more widespread it becomes. But perhaps the most insidious consequence of our obsession with happiness is the way it distorts our sense of meaning. In our quest to feel good, we often prioritize pleasure over purpose. We chase after experiences that make us happy in the moment, but leave us empty in the long run. We sacrifice our values, our passions, and our sense of contribution for the sake of comfort and convenience. This is not to say that pleasure is bad or that happiness is unimportant. But when we make happiness the sole focus of our lives, we lose sight of what truly matters. We forget that life is not just about feeling good, it's about being good. It's about growth, connection, and contribution. It's about finding meaning in the messiness of existence. And here's the paradox. The more we chase happiness, the less we find it. But the more we focus on meaning, the more happiness finds us. This is the insight that Viktor Frankl discovered in the depths of a Nazi concentration camp. Despite unimaginable suffering, he found that those who had a sense of purpose, whether it was a loved one to return to, a book to write, or a cause to fight for, were more resilient, more hopeful, and in a strange way, more alive. So, what does this mean for us? It means that the pursuit of happiness is not just futile, it's counterproductive. It means that the key to a fulfilling life lies not in avoiding pain, but in embracing it. It means that the most radical thing we can do is to stop chasing happiness and start living with purpose. But how do we do that? How do we break free from the cycle of longing and disillusionment? How do we reclaim our authenticity, our connections, and our sense of meaning? These are the questions we'll explore in the next section, as we delve into the rebellion against the tyranny of happiness. Because the truth is, the path to a fulfilling life is not about feeling good all the time. It's about being fully alive. Joy and sorrow, light and shadow, triumph and failure. So take a moment to reflect. What would it mean to stop chasing happiness and start living with purpose? What would it mean to embrace the full spectrum of your humanity? The answers may not be easy, but they are worth exploring. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping around you, the ground far below. You've been told your whole life that the only way to be happy is to climb higher, to reach the summit, to keep pushing forward. But what if, instead of climbing, you stepped back? What if, instead of chasing the horizon, you turned inward? What if the key to freedom wasn't in reaching for something outside yourself, but in letting go of the need to reach at all? This is the essence of the rebellion, a radical shift in perspective that challenges everything we've been taught about happiness. It's not about giving up or settling for less. It's about reclaiming your life from the tyranny of constant striving. It's about finding peace, not in the absence of struggle, but in the midst of it. The first step in this rebellion is to question the narrative that happiness is the ultimate goal. This narrative is so deeply ingrained in us that it feels like truth. But it's not. It's a story shaped by history, culture, and commerce. And like all stories, it can be rewritten. Start by asking yourself, who benefits from my pursuit of happiness? Is it me, or is it the corporations selling me products, the influencers selling me lifestyles, the self-help gurus selling me solutions? When you follow the money, you'll often find that the pursuit of happiness is a lucrative business. And like any business, it thrives on creating a need that can never be fully satisfied. Once you've questioned the narrative, the next step is to redefine what a good life means to you. This is not an easy task. It requires introspection, courage, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But it's also liberating. Because when you define your own values, your own goals, your own measures of success, you free yourself from the expectations of others. One way to do this is to shift your focus from happiness to meaning. As Viktor Frankl observed, meaning is not something we find, it's something we create. It's not a destination, but a journey. And it's not dependent on external circumstances, but on our response to them. So ask yourself, what gives my life meaning? Is it my relationships, my work, my creativity, my contribution to something larger than myself? These are the things that sustain us, that give us a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And unlike happiness, they are not fleeting. They endure even in the face of adversity. Another key to breaking free is to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. This means allowing yourself to feel not just the pleasant emotions, but the painful ones too. It means recognizing that sadness, anger, fear, and grief are not enemies to be avoided, but allies to be understood. They are part of what makes us human, part of what connects us to each other. This doesn't mean wallowing in negativity or glorifying suffering. It means accepting that life is messy, unpredictable, and often unfair. And it means finding beauty and meaning in that messiness. As Carl Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. A powerful tool in this process is mindfulness, the practice of being present in the moment without judgment. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. It helps us break free from the cycle of craving and aversion that keeps us trapped in the pursuit of happiness. But mindfulness is not just a personal practice. It's a radical act of rebellion. In a world that's constantly pulling us in 1,000 different directions, choosing to be present is a form of resistance. It's a way of saying, I will not be defined by my desires or my fears. I will not be controlled by the past or the future. I will be here, now, fully alive. Finally, the rebellion requires us to cultivate gratitude, not as a performative act, but as a deep and abiding appreciation for the present moment. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. It reminds us that even in the midst of struggle, there is beauty, connection, and possibility. But gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's about noticing the small things, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter, the taste of your favorite food. It's about finding joy in the ordinary and meaning in the mundane. These are the tools of the rebellion: questioning the narrative, redefining your values, embracing the full spectrum of experience, practicing mindfulness, and cultivating gratitude. Together they form a roadmap to a life that is not defined by the pursuit of happiness, but by the pursuit of meaning. But the rebellion is not just a personal journey, it's a collective one. Because the pursuit of happiness is not just an individual problem, it's a societal one. And the more we challenge this narrative, the more we create a culture that values authenticity, connection, and purpose over superficial happiness. So take a moment to reflect. What would it mean to join this rebellion? What would it mean to stop chasing happiness and start living with intention? The answers may not be easy, but they are worth pursuing. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a dense forest, the trees towering above you, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. You've been walking for hours, days, maybe even years, searching for something, a clearing, a path, a way out. You've followed every map, every sign, every piece of advice, but the forest only seems to grow thicker. And then, in a moment of exhaustion, you stop. You sit down on a fallen log, your breath heavy, your mind quiet. And as you sit there, something shifts. You realize that the forest is not a maze to be solved. It's not a puzzle to be cracked. It's not even an obstacle to be overcome. The forest is simply the forest. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is. And in that moment, you understand. The only thing standing between you and peace is the belief that you need to find something outside yourself to be whole. This is the ultimate truth. The pursuit of happiness is not just futile, it's unnecessary. Because happiness is not something you find or achieve. It's not a destination or a prize. It's not even a state of being. Happiness is a byproduct of living authentically, of embracing the full spectrum of your humanity, of finding meaning in the messiness of existence. But this realization is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning. Because once you stop chasing happiness, you're free to start living. You're free to be present, to be curious, to be open to whatever life brings. You're free to connect deeply with others, to contribute to something larger than yourself, to create a life that feels true to who you are. And here's the most profound part. This freedom is available to you right now. You don't need to climb a mountain, write a book, or change the world. You don't need to be richer, thinner, smarter, or more successful. You don't need to be anything other than what you already are. This is the paradox of happiness. The moment you stop chasing it, it finds you. The moment you stop trying to be happy, you start to feel alive. And the moment you stop seeking meaning outside yourself, you realize that meaning has been within you all along. So what does this mean for you? It means that the key to a fulfilling life is not in changing your circumstances, but in changing your perspective. It means that the only thing standing between you and peace is the belief that you need something more to be whole. And it means that the most radical thing you can do is to stop chasing happiness and start embracing the present moment. But this is not a one-time realization. It's a practice. It's something you have to come back to again and again as life throws its inevitable challenges your way. It's something you have to choose, moment by moment, day by day. And here's the final, most powerful truth. You are already enough. You don't need to prove it, earn it, or achieve it. You don't need to be happy all the time, or even most of the time. You just need to be here, now, fully alive. So take a deep breath. Look around you. Notice the beauty, the complexity, the mystery of existence. And ask yourself, what would it mean to stop chasing happiness and start living with intention? What would it mean to embrace the full spectrum of your humanity? What would it mean to be free? The answers are not out there. They're within you, and they always have been. Now the choice is yours. Will you keep chasing the horizon, or will you step back and realize that you're already home? The journey doesn't end here, it begins. Now go, live, be, and remember, you are enough.